Everybody's live. Welcome, everybody. Time for the team tune. Oh, yeah. It's time for some power in your hour. Except I probably need a lot of sugar to get me through the next 60 minutes. I also need a sieve. Anyone got a sieve? An idea sieve? Oh, yeah, we all have. It's called AI, isn't it? Anyone heard of AI? It's this pattern matching product which just goes out and wanders around and finds things. And so today it found me this. If you got a presenter and you want to add a bit more flair, you can change their shirt. Just remember what colour shirt I've got on. Keep an eye on it. And you can put them in an ordinary room. Oh, for a bit of mystery, you could blur out the background. Now, we could do this with software, or we could just do it with a well-positioned camera with a nice bit of depth of field. Or maybe I should call it a lack of depth of field. It's that blurred effect. Maybe we got a static office like this one here with strategically placed items of strategic color as well. So they contrast with me. Maybe it's a branded virtual set. Got a Lord Zoom sign I could hang up behind me. That would brand it. Maybe I could brand it with a bit of graphics. I could have a video background. Is that background behind me real, or is it a image? Or is it a video? I could go green screen. Physical green screen. Painted wall green screen. Don't have to though, do I? We got software now which will, in most of the apps, will attempt to make my background disappear so I can put something else in its place. But you all know this, don't you? I mean, this is, I just did a quick internet search and I found the earliest video on green screen with a just simple YouTube search was 2020. I'm pretty sure green screens have been around a lot longer than that. I expect Mike was just a baby when they were first out. Green screens have been around forever. And we've talked about them not many weeks ago. So green screens allow me to build my virtual studio. But how? This is where it all gets really tricky. This is where we need the sieve. Because I've been researching on how I want to move up to my green screen world. And I made the mistake of asking AI. Oh my God. Just, it must be maybe 6 weeks ago we talked about, 6 weeks ago we talked about green screens. I'd have to look through all the episodes to work it out, but I got a feeling it's round about then. And I think I was foolish enough to tell you that, you know, if you've got a 50,000 budget, a TV studio set up with hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of equipment, you can do some really cool green screen studios in real time. And I sort of, threw it out there. That's, if somebody wants to give me $100,000 of green screen tech, I'd be really happy. But crikey, have you seen what these AI tools can do now? I mean, it's going to cost you $100,000 to run in a year, it seems, because they only seem to give you 5 to 10 second snippets. But you can make your background change, with AI in put the recording in, and within 5 minutes, you've got a green screen back version of it where you don't even have to use a green screen. It will just work out what your background was and then take it out and put something else in. It's frightening, absolutely frightening. And the apps are getting faster and faster. I got an app yesterday or the day before. It will replace me with another character in real time. In real time. When I say real time, I got a feeling there's a second or so delay, but you're not going to notice it. And probably even Mike's not going to even realize it to that degree, because by the time we've taken our videos, we put them into our production software, production studio at this point is running in the cloud. We've got a half-second delay. Once it goes to YouTube, we've got a 10, 15-second delay. So if an AI can get, a 2-second conversion, that's real time, isn't it? For most of us, that's real time. And I can go one better than that as well, because I've just been moving around boxes. So let's see if I can switch to camera 3. Camera 3. I got myself one of these. The Ultimat from Blackmagic. This gets rid of the green screen in real time. Gives you, gotta get this right now. Gives you 3 options. Gives you one option where you put the background into here and it switches the background for you. Or if you're feeling more imaginative, it will give you 2 outputs. One is the screen. The other is the mask. I nearly forgot then, Mike, what it was called. And those 2 together, you can put them into, lots of software. And then the mask will tell that software where you are. The image would show you where you actually are. I don't know why they can't do transparent videos through protocols, but maybe Mike can tell us about that as a short story sometime today. And you can put yourself anywhere. So, John, what are you going to show us? I'm going to show you that I want a sieve, because I've done so many stupid things with green screens and backgrounds. That's why these things are out, because I put them into one machine. Then I realized I needed that machine to do all the video composite. So I needed to put these into the other machine. So this card has already been in and out of 2 machines. And I think I'll probably just have to get a second one so I can just leave them in the 2 machines. Because what's interesting is, you're doing this from scratch, it would cost you an absolute arm and a leg fortune, lots of dollars. But I've been clever. Okay. I think I've been clever because I've been buying equipment to do this, but I've not had to spend a single penny or cent on a computer. And that means I've been playing with a lot of stuff for a lot less than I probably should be. Because fortunately, I've got a pretty beefy Mac Studio over there. I've also got a pretty beefy 4090 based Windows machine over there next to it. And they're not top of the range. I don't tend they're top of the range, but they're certainly powerful enough to be able to run 2, 3, 4 video signals and put them in a background and then have software move you around in a 3D space. And they look really sexy. So sexy, I don't know which one. I'm actually wondering if I need to get an app. Oh, maybe I'll write it myself. I need to get an app to limit the amount of time I play with it, because I start playing with it and the next thing I know, it's like 4 hours have disappeared. from nowhere. I am 4 hours later in the day because I've been playing around with these tools. But what really frightened me and why I have to come for an update today is it's just the AI. It's just the way the AI is moving so quickly. So I have completely changed in my mind how I might do this. Because am I wearing the same top still? Just want to check. Just want to check. You need to always keep an eye on my tops because they may change. That could be the giveaway that I'm going to play around with some funny stuff. Because what I realized, and Mike's going to tell me it was obvious, and I feel really depressed, but why my mind has been blown is that in my other life, running these events and shows and things like this we're doing with Mike and with others, we've been mixing it up. And we've got to the point now where this show is live. All right. And if there is any of it that's not live, I will tell you. I might not tell you at the time, but I will tell you before the show finishes. So you must stay to the end of the show to realize. But what I'm starting to do now in other shows is I'm not there. I'm interspacing recordings of me. It may be a Zoom call it, a Simulive, where I start off with a recording, or it may be that just bits during the presentation I am now pre-recording for two reasons. One is because I'm probably going to do something which I expect I'm going to get wrong. So I'll record it so I know it's right every time. Secondly, if I'm going to repeat stuff, I don't want to have to keep repeating complicated effects. I can't have Mike on beck and call. Apparently he's got a distribution business in Canada he likes to run now and again. So he won't be here all the time. Therefore, recording snippets of what I'm doing works really well. And if you're going to repeat that particular show on a regular basis, then having recordings of bits of it make it easier to do as well. So it's a win-win-win-win-win. But when you get to that level, then suddenly, ooh, we can do green screen magic. Because all I need to do is have this background, say, as my, well, I don't know what anyone calls it. Mike's going to tell me, but I hope he's taking notes because he's got a lot to do today. I would call it my anchor position or my anchor scene. Me with this background. Yeah. So I have a particular scene which is going to be my anchor scene. And this is all new. This is all my new theory. Sure, somebody's going to come out with that. But I need an anchor scene so that I have somewhere that you think is home that I come back to. But that doesn't stop me mixing in now other content, which could be using the anchor scene or could be maybe my other angle, my other camera, still in the anchor scene, but a different perspective. Because I can tell you from my playing on Wednesday, you can really fool people if you flip to another camera because they lose. And I did the trick on somebody, I won't say who because it's not fair. And I've just given them, I'm hoping to work with them for the next 3 months, I think it is, 15 weeks. So I don't really want to give it away who they were because they probably don't know themselves. But I had a conversation with them and they don't know that one half the conversation was, I flipped the screen there to show them something. When I came back to the screen here, I was a recording of me. And I left it playing for 5 minutes, just sitting there, nodding. Because I knew they'd be talking. So just sitting there, nodding. And sort of, engaging in a inactive way to what they were talking about. And then, of course, I had the problem. When they asked me a question, how was I going to get back without them realizing? So what I did was I flipped that screen over there and then I was, oops, live again. And then they knew. And then, of course, I could stop the recording. I went back to this camera. Am I recording now or am I live? It's now up for you to guess. Did I hit enough buttons? Am I recording or am I live? What do you think? Do you think that giveaway when I went to the PC screen? Giveaway? Am I now live or am I real? Is this a repeat? No, it isn't, because I've just changed the words. Do you see how stupid I am? But can you see the opportunities here? Just think how you can change the world of your CEO if they're sitting behind their important desk talking about the world and how it should all be. And then they can go to another shot where they are standing up, and now they're in a green screen, and now they can have the figures of their business, their revenue targets, all appearing as nice big graphics next to them, a la the BBC and all those other TV show companies that put their graphics in the middle of the news. And of course, that bit of the CEO standing up could be pre-recorded because it's delivering his or hers presentation. And then when they've finished doing that particular presentation, you can switch the camera angle and they can now be back with their anchor scene dealing with Q&A. Are you getting the idea? Because I am, and I'm blown away. And this is before I start doing the other things, like I haven't really talked about anything yet. I haven't talked about doing some more graphics in front of me, like lower thirds and all that sort of, I won't say basic, but the standard stuff. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is that when I started getting these green screen tech that I've got here and I started playing with it, I imagine myself as, okay, this stage is for certain shows, but I want to do, well, I've got a whole list of shows. In fact, I'm talking about doing some shows with other people now. I could have an armful of shows, and we can't all have the same background. It's not branding, is it? Having the same background for every single type of show and their different subjects is not going to work. So I need a green screen because I can't afford to buy myself 15 different studios to run my 15 different shows in. Green screen is the answer. But it's not the whole answer, because I've now realized, and I know he's going to come on and tell me, John, it was obvious, why didn't you see it? But I don't need to have an entire green screen show in green screen. I don't have to have an entire live show live. You can mix it up. You can use the best out of everything. And I don't know how to put this without being obvious. Let's just say I have a certain subscriber count in mind. And when we reach that subscribers count, I'm going to let you know that I am in fact dead and my world has been taken over by aliens. But until then, I'm real. So make sure you've subscribed. Make sure your friends are subscribed, because when that subscriber hits the number that I have, and it's not a round number, so you're not going to beat me that way, then I suggest you watch out for when my top changes color. That could just be the clue that the aliens are coming. And if you have a nervous disposition, you might want to close your eyes at that point, because it scared the bejesus out of me, and I was recording it. So does this sound like a whole load of rubbish, or does this really make sense? There's only one person here who's got the intelligence to answer anything like that, and that's our friend Mike Latter. So we need Mike Latter to come out here and tell me, is it behind you, the new watchword for this year? What do you think, Mike?
Hi, everybody. What do I think about in the regards of green screens or doing all the different, sure. Okay. So anchor position, sure. That would be a bit of a newscaster type of situation where this is the anchor of the show. So the anchor, you're in the anchor position of, hi everybody, welcome to insert news channel here, you know,
Yeah.
evening news. Yeah. So this would be where John is talking about in that regards, you know, this being sort of an anchor position. And then, of course, when he did his second shot and took us to his other shot, then of course, that is more of, you know, it gives a different perspective of his studio, which of course you end up seeing a different background and such. So it's always good to change it up, would be another example too. And this is something that, of course, you've been watching as John and I have been talking too, that, you know, or John been talking, that I've been changing up a bit of the scenes and such like that too. And that's making the proper modifications too, so that it's not just, hi, everybody, and I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to talk and I'll be a bobbing head. Right. So it's so when it comes to green screens, yes, of course. I know Johnny's going to get into that a little more in depth here momentarily, but yeah. Lighting, important. Cameras, important. Making sure that the cameras look the same too. And this is what John's been doing this week too, is to make sure that not only is his main camera and his second camera match each other based on the color and such and the lighting in the room, it, you know, make sure that there's certain information that is coming up with the camera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to make sure that all this is in line so that, you know, when you are cutting to that second shot, it's a professional looking shot.
Yeah, that's true. Most people that I've been talking to about this are not going to have the budget to buy loads of cameras, and quite a few of them have migrated, maybe, or the best word, migrated from a webcam to a low budget type camera. Because the truth is, if you're going to do 1080p and most people are going to watch it on their phones, you don't need a $5,000 camera. If your ego wants to buy one, then that's fine. But you can get some pretty good camera shots off these Vlog type cameras. Actually, just remember that one is a Vlog camera. So this is one of the Sony Vlog cameras. I mean, it's still like $600 or $700 worth, I think now. I think it cost me a few $100 more than that. Under $1,000 US, that is. Sorry, not Canada, Mike. Sorry to tell you, but $1,000 US. And they're good. It can zoom. It's got pretty good color control. It's a Sony, so it's working well. And yeah, it gives me a second shot. It gives me, as you said, I'm trying to get the color balance the same. And one advantage of using something like an ATEM is that you can mix the color control inside the ATEM as well, so you can finesse. Also, I've got two really big lights here, not little panel ones, nice big round ones. They're probably almost 4 feet across in your money. So they're really big, but even those big ones, I still get a bit of a different lighting effect from looking over there to looking here. I've got my hair light up behind me, so my hair light probably doesn't make such an effect when I go to the side camera than it does to me sitting here with the camera behind me. I also found that having one zoomed in and one zoomed out also makes a difference in effect, and that makes it easier to go through. And Mike, you've got your cameras. I mean, your cameras are all the same, but they're in ridiculously different angles, aren't they? So again, it adds the variation, adds a different perspective. And
correct.
If you were feeling energetic, you could show us how you can stand up and do your stand-up camera. Maybe that's a bit too much for you to do on a Friday afternoon, but if you could talk about that, that'd be excellent, though, even if you can't. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. So there's my other camera. Then this is sort of giving an equivalent to what John is talking about here, which is that is one of my show-off shots. Yes. the production behind the scenes shot. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, if you want the true production behind the scenes shot, then I'll give you the true production behind the scenes shot. There you go. So anyways, but yes, so yes, you could also have 3 cameras, not just 2, but we're getting more complicated now. And
Yeah.
there's reasons that I have 3 cameras too.
And it's to some degree, people are going to say this costs money. And I'm going to say yes. But as I said, you don't need a ridiculously expensive cameras. PTZ cameras, professional PTZ cameras, you can get from what, $1,000 to $1,500. You can get a base level quality PTZ.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Majority of the PTZ market is anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 US, Canadian, UK, currency variation between that. You could easily get a really nice PTZ controllable non-webcam camera.
Yeah.
Because again, the PTZ world has moved itself a bit into the webcam world. So we all, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
There is a difference.
And it seems that almost every camera, well, not every camera, but it feels like every camera now has a USB connection so you can plug it straight into your computer. But this is not a forward move. This is a backward move for you, because as soon as you do that, you got 2 issues. Actually, I think you got 3. So the first issue is the quality through a USB connection on your camera is going to be worse than your camera can produce. I don't care what they tell you. I don't think they're using the fastest USB connection, so they're not sending all the data down there.
Correct, John. Yeah, absolutely. So it's basically on the actual, and John hit it right the nail on the head, which is that USB port just a regular USB port, or is it a proper USB port? And what I mean by that is that there are different USB chips, and I'll just leave it at that high level, that the manufacturers could use. And again, everything has to be translated from analog to digital. So again, it's the infamous analog to digital converter that is connected to the USB port. Is it really good, or is it really not? And and John's exactly right with that.
I'm gonna be told off for doing this, but I feel that the cameras are using like USB 2 type connections. We've got USB 3, we've got USB 4 now, we've got ridiculously fast connections. I don't see the cameras because it's not their core thing. They're adding it for convenience. They're not adding it to show off. So that's the first reason why I wouldn't want to use USB. Second reason why I wouldn't want to use USB is I've just painted myself into a corner, because I know there's a lot of you that like to plug everything into your computer, and then you use something like OBS and you want to keep your budget down, then that's fine. But you lose so much flexibility and opportunity when you do that. Because all of these different
100%.
mixers that are out there, and they're not, again, I'm not talking about free. We're talking about mixers. The mixers could be $500 to $1,000, I suppose. Some a little bit. Yes, I would say that's about right. When you Mike, stop trying to disappear off the screen. Come back. There's a good one.
I'm back. I didn't know. It looked like John was getting awful serious, so he deserved to have the full screen. Okay, here we go.
Thank you very much.
Yes, no, John is right. No, again, especially us being production professionals, as we all are watching our production professionals power hour, we've got to make sure that we are flexible.
Yeah.
A webcam is not.
Yeah. And the third point, which I'll merge in, and then we can go around the whole thing. The third point is, it's not just flexibility. Your computer won't deal with it. If you want 2 cameras and you think you're going to have them on 2 USBs, then you're going to want your sound in via USB. I can tell you I'm just looking down. I've got a Mac Mini there. I thought I'll have a Mac Mini. It can run my desk and it will work for me. But I need a teleprompter screen. So I've got a teleprompter screen, Mike. I've got
Yep.
a sound card screen, sound card, which is my Rodecaster Pro. That's number 2.
Yeah. That's number 2.
I've got my input from my camera. So that's 3.
Right. That's 3. Yeah.
Oh, but I've got to have at least one Stream Deck plugged in, haven't I? I mean, you know, we
Yeah,
don't do anything
4.
nowadays without a Stream Deck.
Yeah. At least one. Yes. 4.
That's 4.
And some of our other friends have 3. So let's not go down that road either. But let's say 1.
We'll say
A
one.
baby
We'll
one.
say 1 because I'm going to run out of connections before we get there. So that's
right.
4. My main screen, my main Apple screen nowadays are USB.
Yeah. Yeah. Or using the video capabilities in USB. Mm-hmm. Or even
Because that's the
Thunderbolt,
way-
whatever variation.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
Thunderbolt, but it's still 5 ports according to the Mac.
Right.
And then I've got an HDMI screen here running as well, because I do have one HDMI port. So I've got 3 screens. So I've got my main screen, I've got a reference screen, and I've got my teleprompter screen.
Right.
But I don't think I've got any. And I've managed to get I've got one thing left, and I put my little mini Stream Deck in there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I now have no space left. So if I'm going to run 2 cameras on USB, I'd have to lose one of those plugs for something.
Right. So what are we going to lose? Audio? Obviously
Well,
not.
This is my
other camera?
point.
Obviously
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
I think USB for quality is a bad move.
mm-hmm.
USB because we only have a limited number of USB ports. I know you're going to tell me, you Windows guys on your PCs, you've got more you got ports, but actually you haven't, because you have to remember that almost every port you have on a Windows device is a pair. So you can divide the number of ports you've
not
got on your
more.
PC by 2 because they're in
Yeah.
pairs.
If not more, John. Sometimes they're even triplicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're a pair, or as Mike said, they're triplicate, then they won't have the bandwidth to even do what you want them to do, or the power to do what
Right.
you want them to do.
Right.
I've got my Stream Deck from over there on a long USB cable, and it's on a 2-meter cable, and therefore it disconnects when it feels like it, because it's too long a cable
Mhm.
for the USB port to power.
Yeah. There's the other problem. How can you have a USB camera that you're using to shoot on a stage?
Whereas
You've got to have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
if I say to you, Mike, instead, I will let you have a low spec. I mean, it could be a low spec. It could be a $400 A10 mini,
Mm-hmm.
or one of the other compatible versions of that. And all it does is switch between the cameras. No, none of the other fancy business, just switches between the cameras. That to me
Mhm.
is a much more efficient way of dealing with your cameras than having it running inside your computer and then having to control OBS or something else to switch them around.
Absolutely. 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 Without a doubt in your mind, John. Yeah. Yeah. And again, all my 3 studios that I have set up, actually looking at a 4th one, but all of them are all hardware based video switching. That is why when I was able to do this switch quickly, and I'm going to tease Tony again and then come back again. That is, and we'll know why in a little bit. Tony knows why I just did what I did. So when I do that too, there's also not a delay. The hardware is taking care of all the capabilities. My audio is going through the A10 Mini Pro. My
So it
video, so it follows. So I'm automatically in sync as long as I've set up the A10 Mini Pro itself well. It is doing everything. I've even gotten to the point now where you're listening to me now and Zoom audio doing the Zoom audio capabilities of making sure that I'm not getting slapped back or any echo or anything else. The A10 Mini Pro is dealing with that as well. So Zoom is basically doing nothing for me anymore except for setting the actual turning my video camera on from the ATEM and turning my microphone on from the ATEM.
But Mike,
What?
we're going off subject, are we not?
Are we?
We
I
were
don't
going
know.
to talk about virtual screens and AI and green screens.
Oh,
But
well, but that's right.
if this little box sits between your camera and your switcher,
Yeah.
it solved the green screen issue
Yeah.
before we've even needed to go in to the computer.
Yes. 100%. And on top of that, too, if you just need the basic capabilities of what John just showed you, the ATEM Mini Pro has some basic green screening, so you could also do that as well. But obviously, it's much better. You will get much better green screen capabilities and quality from the unit that John just showed you from Blackmagic as well. But
That's
again,
very
this is where
interesting.
John was talking. Yeah, and this
That
is where John
ruins
was
my-
talking before about key and fill, and we'll get into that a little more too.
Well, you've ruined my structure now because we've now jumped up and down and I'm now confused where I am. But yes, maybe I wouldn't use the green screen built into the ATEM or any other switches for video. Maybe because I like the idea now of a dedicated green screen box. I'm sold on the idea of a dedicated green screen box because it does my composite and gets me the total signal into the system if I'm going to composite outside of my system. So if I'm not going 3D, then I like that. But where I see the green screen features of ATEM and similar devices, which are, with respect, not as clever as that one, they're doing more of a pixel green screen replacement. What I see those great for is I got some graphics or something like that, upstream, downstream graphics, and I put a green component in, I can make, and I'm trying to think exactly how I did it now, but I can bring that content in, and then I can use the green screen to make that content transparent. So I can turn a slide into a lower third. Now, exactly what permutations and combinations I can do, I'm not really sure yet because I just play with it. Oh, that's clever. I must put that in Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can take some more graphics, or I can take some more content that is, as you say, using the green screen rules. I can use the ATEM or something else like that to mix another source in a slightly different way, but using the green screen to make a transparent thing happen. I'll be amazed if Mike suddenly brings up something now that can do this, but he looks like he's thinking of it.
No green screening over here. No green screening over here.
But
not today.
But there are other things you can do in there as well, though, aren't there? You've got a library of graphics.
Yeah.
You've got the ability to run some of those graphics as an animation.
Yeah.
Some of the other products have got the ability to play little videos in them. And this is all before we start talking about the higher ones in the range, which can do scenes, which can be multiple sources, just like in your OBS and all your other software mixers. So your hardware mixer can mix up together. Yep. And again, this goes back to the story we started at the beginning. Multiple cameras going your computer, you're going to completely wipe yourself out from doing all of these clever things. Whereas if you have a video mixer and you bring them all into that, you've got all these opportunities. So many opportunities that I honestly, at the moment, I don't know what setup I want to do. And these products, well, I'm sure they have to a degree, but these products have not been affected by the big hike in prices that we have for all the computer components that can be used by AI. In other words, memory, processors, and video cards. This equipment, yeah, I'm just thinking about it. It's probably got the odd memory chip in it, but it's not really in the same order of magnitude as PCs. So See, if I got a PC to do this green screen stuff that Ultimatte does, I'd be paying so much more for the PC than I pay for that. So it's cheaper.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's getting to the point right now, even just looking at hard drive space, you know, we're talking anywhere between $300 to $600, you know, depending on your country, just for hard drive space right now. So it's pretty unreal right now when it comes to thinking that, you know, you need a beefy computer, you would need some sort, and we didn't get into this, John, and we should actually talk about this too, how much of a no-no, that's right, yeah, using capture cards are actually a half decent. That actually was not that expensive for John to actually get that either. And also staying away from, and we were talking about this with USB hubs. Because again, if you think that, I've only got 2 ports on my machine, and I'm going to use 2 hubs, and now I could hook up 10 cameras. No, because the amount of bandwidth now you are sharing are shared amongst every port that you're using on that USB hub. And if you want the video to be full frames rates, and we want it to either be 30 frames, if not 60 frames a second, depending on who we are, you're not going to be able to have on a single USB port 5 cameras in a hub going into that single USB port. And that's assuming that
Yep.
port, when you plug it into the computer or Mac, has its own dedicated USB bus chip on it, that it's just for that one port. And this is
Yep.
something that has come up in the vMix community for years, if not decades, where people are going, no, I'm just going to use 3 USB cameras in my laptop, and I'm going to expect everything to be okay. And every time I switch, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I switched from this camera to that camera in vMix, and all of a sudden, why didn't it show up? Well, because you don't have enough bandwidth on that USB port.
Yeah.
Or
If
it
you-
didn't sync, or all kinds of things start to happen.
If you try and do it all on one PC, you're going to need a really high spec PC to process all of this. But by doing it in these different stages, not only do you add flexibility, but you've just distributed the processing. So you can leave some more clever stuff to be done on the PC. I like the idea of using a third-party software-based mixer as my last step to finish the composite off, shall we say, to allow me to do a few more of those transitions and movements and things which are harder to do on these dedicated boxes. So a bit more flexibility in the last mile, shall we say, to be able to drop on these more fancy graphics, because I can do graphics inside Zoom, but I can do better graphics if I do it inside a computer. So I would like that to be my final step. But I want to mix my video, I think, before I get into the computer. So I know what's going in, and maybe I'll have a video device like this, and I'll drop in 2 or 3 video sources in at the last minute just to mix in the final video. But it's just, even those machines over there, even the 4090 is going to have trouble if I start putting all that stuff in there and mixing it all together, and then
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. And I was trying to find one. I don't have one by me. I had one a minute ago. Most of these connectors. All right.
Yes.
So we're Mike's looking impressed because it's not HDMI. Most of
Yes.
these connectors, when you plug them in and convert them, they always tend to have 1 in and 2 out, which of course means there's another thing which I forgot to mention earlier, but I've just reminded myself by reading the note. The other thing is, if you have all these extra connectors and these 1 in 4 out type, 1 in 2 out type connectors, I know it makes a lot of spaghetti. And I know a certain person is probably going to complain about spaghetti and cables. But what it does do is it does allow you to then use extra outputs and put a screen over there, over there, over there. And you can have reference monitors with all the different inputs and outputs, all sitting there on a multi-screen type layout. And you can therefore see what's available. You can see all your cameras are working. You can see how the next shot's going to be. You can have your preview and your program effect in screens. And again, we talked about how few things I can plug into my Mac Mini. My Windows PC over there, it's a lot more powerful. It's still limited, I think, to 3 screens simultaneously. So there's only so much I can output on it. And if I'm running 3 screens and I've got 4 in outs, I'm starting to give it a lot of work to do. And yeah, we are not talking about 4K. Oof. I'm keeping to 1080. 4K would
Yeah.
be
Yes, we're
frightening.
definitely not talking about 4K here, everybody. No.
4K is 4 or 5 times the power. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Well, 1080p times 4 is a good general rule of thumb there. So if John had that equivalent card as a 4K card, now he needs 4 times 4. Everybody do the math now. So if his machine is okay just doing 1080p for inputs, let's say at 1080p 60, but now he's going 4 times that. So now his machine has to be able to handle 16 type versions of 1080p 60 or for 4K video. If the machine can barely handle for 1080p 60, how is it supposed to handle for 4K P60?
And so we want some green screen. And we're not really quite sure how we're going to do this, but we can have some green screen, and we can have some green screen with some backgrounds. And we've got the Ultimac can put the background in automatically, or give you 2 inputs and you can mix it somewhere else. And then you want a 3D world. And then you want to, if you want real variation and control, then I think mixing real time and video is good. But all the software that you're using to produce the show, you can't get your machine out and then unload one piece of software and load in another piece of software in the middle of the show. So your setup is going to have to work for the entirety of the show. And that to me gives you another reason why you want a distributed system where it's all done in different places and not all dumped onto one poor PC or Mac and made to do all the work. It just won't. And if you want to mix together the different types of content, which I think is the trick that's going to make this all work for the least effort, then you're going to want to do that. And there's one other catch, which I have alluded to, which I think for me is pretty much a game changer. I don't get mic 24/7. There are things that I can't do on my own. There are things I can't do on my own in real time. It gets to a certain point where there's not enough buttons that I can generate and interfaces that I can put in to do everything at the same time. But is it cheaper? Is it more cost effective? Is it more flexible? If I create some of that content for the show rather than during the show live, than the other option, which is to have a team of people in the background running all the clever bits for me. And the answer is obviously, it's so much cheaper. Even if I don't want to do the work myself, it's still cheaper and more effective for me to be able to give I don't know what you would call it, a run of show and the basic content to a videographer to take that and composite up and make me my recording reels, which I can then play during my show. But they do it in their own time. So I give it to them a week away and 2 days for the show. I get that content back ready. I load it into whatever devices I'm going to run. If I run slides, as you know, as you probably remember, when I run slides, I've got a dedicated slide laptop over there that only does slides for me. That means it can run all sorts of slides and videos for me because it just has one job. Once it's pre-programmed with that job, I've got the buttons here so you control it. And it's fantastic and it works really well. And I could do multiple presentations and run multiple videos from that device. And it doesn't get in the way of what the other computers are doing because it's a computer on its own. That's its dedicated job. If you have a video switcher, 4 is doable. But if you get one of the higher spec ones that does 6 or 8 and has some sort of scene control, because usually when you get to that price range, you've got some sort of scene control or scene mixing built in, whether it be Blackmagic's or one of the other companies, you've got enough space for a dedicated video player or something. And it doesn't have to be a PC. It could be a really low spec PC if all it's got to do is play your video content. And that's the other catch, you see. Creating content beforehand means that the system that needs to deliver that content in the show doesn't need to be high spec. You can use a high spec, you could use your high spec machine to composite all the video contents you want. It's got to do the video, it's got to do the final mixing maybe during the show. So if it does all its composite creation before the show, and then you give that to another dedicated machine, crikey, if you want to be inventive enough, you could even run your videos off a phone. If you have the box to connect them into the HDMI of your video switcher, you could use a phone. I mean, I probably wouldn't go to that level, but I've run videos before off an iPad. So I've taken all that complexity of creating that video, I've done it beforehand, and I've run it off an iPad. Mixing it up. And AI and green screens. I haven't got a clue where I'm going to go with it now. It just blown my mind this week playing around with. I don't know which tools I want to use now. No, I can't tell you what tools I want to use now. I'll probably stick to a few staples that I've used forever because it's just, but the whole idea of just creating a bit of content before a show rather than all the time live, it just makes so many options. It's mind-blowing. And of course, that means that I can have a different workflow for my different shows. I can have a different background for different shows. And with this tech, it's sort of worked. Okay, so I'm not promising you, but I tried doing a green screen from somewhere else because we've always had this idea of trying to get Mike in like a transparent background, sort of beam him into the show. So I tried a long distance. So I tried putting a green screen downstairs and then using this to Ultimatte to bring the signal in the other end. And it wasn't perfect. And that's probably because I know what it is. I was bringing it in as a Zoom source. And of course, Zoom is squashing the signal to get around the internet. So it isn't such a good quality source. But it looked quite impressive. I was quite impressed. I'm sure I could work out a better way of getting a video signal uncompressed. I'm sure Mike could come up with some ideas on that as well. How you could get a remote speaker in of higher quality. And I bet there's some companies out there that do this already. I've certainly thought of having a unit that you send out to customers. But instead of coming back as, well, even Zoom has an option now, doesn't it, Mike, to do higher frame rates on 1080p, higher video quality? He's saying yes, they does for those that can't lip read.
Yes. And there you go. And I was muted because I was doing production stuff. And chatting with people on YouTube. Hello, everybody on YouTube. When it comes to so when it comes to doing yes, so higher frame rate on Zoom, yes, absolutely. But again, do you really need the higher frame rate on Zoom? What kind of content are you going to do?
Yeah, I was thinking of bringing somebody as a green screen source, and therefore I want a higher quality so that it's easier for the green screen to get the pixels sorted.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Again, if it really depends on, again, usually the high frame rate, again, is usually more of, if you really need the, if there's going to be a lot of action within the actual scene, then yeah, usually that's where the 60 frames a second will come into play, will benefit you more than the 30 frames a second. But in that regards, yeah, absolutely. Will the 60 frames and the higher bandwidth coming from Zoom bringing that in using the enhanced media add-on?
Yep.
If I'm remembering, yeah. That definitely will. Yeah, if you're using a green screen, but again, if you're not doing a proper green screen, it'll also make it worse because it will show it off how badly you've done your green screening too. So it is a trade-off. If you've done a great job on green screening and you give it more frame rate, it will look gorgeous. If you are using, if you're done a terrible job at green screening, and you now want to do that at 60 frames a second, it's going to look that much more worse, where the 30 frames a second will at least cover it up a little more.
Yeah. I think bringing in a higher quality 1080 and at 60 frames a second, the thing I worry about is blurring. And if you bring it in at a higher frame rate, then I think you're going to have less blurring effects, and then that should help the green screen to improve it. But I think this probably needs, well, I could probably use it. I could probably just use up a show, couldn't I? Just trying all the different options. Or in other words, I can spend a couple of hours myself playing around. But let me just give you some teasers and and you can then choose which one you would take the challenge for, Mike. So running out of ways to get the sieve to work, I decided to throw this at GPT. I asked it for some examples of memorable green screen scenarios. The first one is the Impossible Studio. Start in a normal studio, press the Stream Deck button, and suddenly you're broadcasting from a $10 million television studio. Number 2, the Tiny Presenter. Place yourself standing on top of the Stream Deck while explaining the Stream Deck controls.
Okay.
The
ChatGPT is going
Zoom.
out there. All right.
I like that one. Yeah. Inside Zoom. Create an enormous mock Zoom meeting interface and have yourself physically standing between participant tiles. There's more. Weather presenter, stand beside a huge Zoom architecture diagram and gesture it to as a television weather forecaster. I think
there we go. The weather forecaster. Yeah. That is the infamous green screen situation. Yeah.
Walk into a slide. Instead of PowerPoint appearing beside you, make the slide environment around you and walk around the slide. Infinite Studio. Cameras and monitors from your real studio continue into a much larger AI-generated version. Teleportation. So, London, New York, Tokyo, Moon, Zoom conference stage without cutting your presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Historical presenter.
That would be,
yeah. Sorry, you wanted to comment on that one?
No, I was going to say the one comment that I would make about that is then again, it's really cool because then it feels like if you're doing a production corporate gig, then it brings in the different head offices, all the different feeds. So you could actually have them all mimic as if they're in the same room, but yet they're in 3 different countries.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And if you're a corporate, you've probably got, you know, your equipment is probably the same across all your countries. You're more likely to have the same studio type equipment, aren't you, across the country? So that would work well. Yeah. I got 2 more.
Yeah.
Historical
All right.
presenter, appear inside an old television studio. We're discussing the history of video conferencing.
Sure.
And the future presenter, what will meetings look like in 2035? Place yourself inside the imagined environment.
The imagined environment. It didn't want to give you the imagined environment though, but
No.
but interesting. Okay. Yeah. The imagined environment. So it was basically saying, it was leaving that up to you. It's going, so would we actually be using TVs in 2035? Would we be using what? Sure. But again, yeah, the creativity, having a green screen, as long as it's lit well, and as long as the camera understands it, and you've got it really, really good looking, and you've done everything properly, you could be teleported to anywhere doing anything. But again, to be very, very careful, as John has shown us in the past, in the regards of my chair is thick, it doesn't see through to the background, right? So John, that's that chair too that has that, correct? You're in that chair right now.
Yeah. It's got a lattice at the back. It's very comfortable, but if it lets light through, it makes green screen, just makes it impossible for green screens to process. So
right, because again, it's got to look at each individual little hole and actually fill it with your background per second. So everybody has to remember frames are per second, right? So you would just make the Ultimatte just run full tilt, because every little hole, as John would do his slight move of his chair, it's redrawing the frames all the time per second. And even if we're doing the advanced media at the 60 frames, then it's even doing even more. It's doubling the frames of what Zoom normally would do.
So my step forward in this whole green screen imaginary background world changed this week for 2 reasons. One is, God, the tech's moving fast. It really is. And there's a lot of tech out there, AI related tech, that has amazing opportunities, but 2 really important downside caveats. One is a lot of the really cool stuff can't run in real time. But that's fine, because we said what we'll do is we'll mix in some green screen related content so we can produce it beforehand. And secondly, wow, once you've paid for your demonstration tokens they're giving you, you can start to become really expensive. And that's why a lot of the tools are short snippets measured in seconds, not minutes. But again, if we're going to work on the idea of having cutaways to green screen content pre-recorded, then a 10 or 15-second cutaway is still effective. It's still cost effective. It still works. So what I'm suggesting is that maybe you simplify your anchor position so that it doesn't need much processing, or it's something set. Maybe if you've got one of these green screen Ultimattes or some sort of green screen system, you choose or you select or you just design your home look, your anchor look, so that it looks good, but it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of setup or control, because it's well lit and you've chosen the background items to make them work. And look, if you've got something in the background that's going to be difficult to use and it just can't process on a green screen, I've got this really stupid suggestion for you. Take it out of the shot and put it back in virtually. Hey, was waiting for Mike's eyes to sort of open up in the shot, but maybe he's done that trick before. But I haven't. So I mean, just thought of it from some of the stuff I was looking at this week. Yeah, if there's a different item, why not just bring it in composite form? Mix up your studio, mixes up the story, adds interest. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. No, and again, the more flexibility that you give yourself, the better, the more creative and the more artistic you can get with and the more artistic, of course, the more attractive your content will be, the more exciting your content will be, and also more engaging your content will be. Because if you are just a webcam sitting there going, "Hi, everybody," and I might move a little bit, and all you see is my mouth moving now just because I'm purposely making myself stern and I'm not moving and I'm just moving my mouth. It will start to weigh on on getting your point across. You will not get your presentation, your production, your clients look to do stuff, and as John quickly does, he threw on a quick little whoop background.
Well, this is a very simple background. It's just being done by Zoom in this case. And I'm on a Mac Mini. I'm pretty sure if I wave my hands around, you can see quite quickly that it's a fake background.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what John and I don't want you to do. And yes, you can get really clever like John just did, which is actually now he's actually playing a video background, which is great. So it looks like he's on vacation and he's zooming in from, I don't know, I guess that looks like a very palm tree. So I don't know many palm trees in the UK, John.
Well, actually, considering the weather we've got, I think palm trees are the order of the day now. So we'll probably have them everywhere.
But yeah, so when it comes to backgrounds, again, you could see that, in John's environment right now, he's not necessarily set up as a green screen. I'm not going to give it away, John, if you are or not. I'm going to let you do this. But I don't know. I really don't know. But do you know? Can you guys tell on YouTube? Can you guys tell on LinkedIn? Let us know in chat. There's been some guesses. I've had a couple of guesses, John. They don't know if we're live or not, too. That was another one that was a guess, too.
Indeed.
You really got them thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there's a couple of people I've been trying to get on the show and they can't make this time. So I might have to pre-record their slots and bring them on sort of real time. Yeah, it's my story of green screen is probably going to carry on all the way to Christmas. I've probably got another 3 months. Maybe I might have another 6 months of trying to get this all under control, because it's all just trying little things and then having the courage to put them on a show. Really, that's what it's about. But it's it's fun. But you don't need it for the whole show.
Right. Very important. Very right.
Just use it for bits. Just intersect a few segments, a few intros, an outro, or just a little bit of content. It's amazing what difference it makes. I've been pulling some green screen tricks on some of the people I've been meeting this week, and I might just do 10 seconds of magic and they're blown away. And when we are under pressure from AI, most of it AI slop, but now and again, something AI is quite good, but most of it's AI slop. I have given up now trying to avoid watching YouTube channels where the speaker is obviously a robot They're either a robot or they're ignorant of the subject, because they'll talk about the Porsche 911. Whoever talks about a Porsche 911? It just doesn't happen. Everybody knows it's a 911. I'm joking. It's a 911. But I'm trying to make a point here. You can tell when AI is speaking and dictating. You can tell where all these YouTube channels where you never get to see the blasted presenter. That's because they don't exist. The presenters, I hate to use a stereotype, but I will. Some spotty little 14-year-old who thinks he's clever, trying to make money out of a YouTube channel where he can't take his little voice. So he puts somebody else's voice in his neck because I don't want to talk on YouTube. And he hasn't even written the content, because the content's been pre-recorded for somewhere else. I was listening to one yesterday and I suddenly realized the chapter titles were repeated. So in the next section, I'll talk about, and it was X. And then he said, okay, let's talk about X. It was so obviously cut and paste AI. It was frustrating. And yet still lots of people watch it. Well, until the novelty wears off. And then they want to speak to a real human. Instead of having these stupid video clips with no presenter, we can green screen the presenter, put the presenter in the clips. It's not difficult. Gosh, it looks a lot better. Looks a lot more fun. Oh, I'm now regretting not putting a couple of my clips into this show. Would have been fun, but I just didn't. Oh, okay. I'll have to get. I'll just have to get the courage to. I'll just have the courage to be slandered and shouted at from the YouTube for putting them in, but they won't all be good. But maybe we'll throw a few. Well, maybe we'll start. Maybe we'll have a rule: 3 minutes of rubbish, of green screen AI rubbish in each show or something. Maybe I can make some rule like that and try and. Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll just give the problem to Mike, and he can do that bit. But it only takes a bit of content.
If anything falls apart, John, I'll be here to make sure that we still look hefties.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Any comments or questions that challenged us, or was it all just hi there and yo-yo and
yeah,
Juju?
Yeah, so Juju, so Juju is making comments. She says it is hard to tell. So you've got her stumped, John.
She's stringing me along.
I know. She can't tell.
Frankly, I look in the mirror in the morning and I can't tell either. So that's probably something to do with it.
That might be another show, John. I'm just saying.
It would. I just go to appearance, guys. Just go in Zoom. You go to appearance, touch up my appearance, and just push it all the way to the extreme, and you look $1 million. But you'll get a shock when you go down to the bathroom later and see yourself in the mirror, because it's not the same person.
Yeah.
And once I've been adjusted for low light and I've had my portrait done and auto framing, look where it's ruined my lovely my lovely background that I had. These because that's the other thing you got to watch. Oh yeah, didn't mention that.
Oh,
you've got to watch the cumulative effects of your effects on your content. I turn them all off again. So you see, I adjust for low lighting. Just does weird things when I'm well lit. But the portrait lighting always tries to put a glow around me and kill the background, which is okay. But if you've gone to a lot of trouble getting your image to look good, the last thing you want is the last stage of the system. This is like, Mike making his audio all fantastic, and then Zoom comes along or Microsoft comes along and decides they're going to play around with it before it goes into the audio system. You've got to be careful how these all stack up when you put them in line. You need to make sure that you know which part of the path is doing which part of the job.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in a previous episode, and do check us out on YouTube. And that episode was was interesting. And that was John playing around with audio more specifically, when we were talking about the different layers of what is controlling the audio now. Is this, is this piece of software, that piece of software? So yes, John is 100% right. So right now, just with my audio specifically, since John brought it up, is that I've gone original sound for musicians mode in Zoom, if you guys are familiar with Zoom, and that is basically taken away any Zoom coloring or being able to go, you just have a regular USB microphone and you don't know what you're doing when it comes to audio. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that your audio comes as clear as possible to the other person or other people in your meeting, webinar, et cetera, et cetera. So in my case, I've done it. I basically said, Zoom, I think I know what I'm doing and leave my audio alone.
Well, that's right for video and audio across your whole thing. You know, is your camera doing any processing? That little camera over there, one of the neat things it does is it's got this, I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's like product mode. So when you hold a product item up in front of the screen, and this is a Sony as well. This does it quite well. So you can see it's focused in on the item that I put in front of it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has. And it's not too much of a depth of field here on this one. So my background doesn't get out of focus too much because I'm not too much into that. But take that away and it should, it's focusing on me. But what other processing is it doing? What color production doing? What sort of way is it adapting the signal? And then when it goes to your next thing in your chain, which is my case, an ATEM, is that doing any processing? Have I got it to do anything there? And then when it gets into the computer, wherever the computer is, does that do any processing? And when it gets in the software that you're using to send out, whether it's mixing software or Zoom or whatever, again, does that do any processing? Because it will change, and you might find that it will ruin your green screen because it manipulates the signal after the composite's been made and then loses the effect. One of the worst things I find is I suppose it's this fake effect that phones and all these software have, that you've gone to all the trouble of making your scene look good. And I can't remember when it was. I think it was on Tuesday. I had this really weird thing going on. It took me ages to realize that I set this nice little scene. It was looking good. I was feeling really cool about it. And then I suddenly realized that the software on the machine was blurring the background. But it was doing it in software. So it was guessing what to blur in the background. And I think it was this. No, that's it. It was the stick. So the stick, it perceived, was the background. So it was blurring it. And of course, it's not in the background. It's right under my nose. So just because one component sees things differently and then takes it all out of context, you can ruin an entire effect. You're all looking at looking at it now thinking, is that microphone real, or is it, is it in a foreground, or what is it? So make sure you know exactly which part of your chain of command for your audio and your video is doing which job. Make sure there's not duplicating between things. And you don't need to take everything into your final mixer and then green screen it. You can green screen bits on the way and just bring in final solutions. It works just as well. In fact, my playing around this week, I think in a way, actually it works better, because by the time it gets to the final part of the system, the green screening effect has happened further down the chain. So it's all been lost in the, the edges and the whatever has been lost in the system before. I think it works well. Mm-hmm. And don't feel you have to green screen or special effect your entire show.
Right. Again, this would be the perfect example too. Is your newscast necessarily that you watch at nighttime, do they 100% do that? No, the weather person is guaranteed, especially if they're standing in front of it going, and this is what the weather's going to be like in London this evening. Okay, so fine. Yes, that person is for sure in front of a green screen, but would they necessarily need the anchor person have a green screen behind the anchor person? No, most chances are what they do there is different, which is they will start using LED walls, or they'll start using television screens, or a video wall of some sort, or just a plain old background. Period.
Yeah.
But would they need to have the green screen on? No. And the more green screen you have on, too, depending on, and if John, let's say John had both green screens on going into his PC with the card that he was showing, and then he had green screen on for both cameras. Now, both cameras, the unit that his PC now has to do both green screen on both cameras at the same time. So now you're not only the amount of resources that you need to do it once, you now are duplicating because now you're doing it on both cameras. So it's just like, oh, no. And we're not doing 4K still. We're still, and we need to emphasize this too. When we're talking about all this stuff currently today, and what you're seeing us right now, this is all 1080p 60 at maximum that we're doing today. Full stop. We're
I've
not
looked at
talking
some
about
of the-
4K.
I've looked at some of the football shows that we have in the UK, and I managed
Right.
to get some pictures of the studio themselves. And it's probably got to do with budget, and it's probably got to do with the fact that the football pundits would be completely lost if they were just in a room that was just green. So the whole of the desk they all sit around, that's real. So
Yep.
it's always in context when they move around because it's real. And there was a couple of big items in the background that were real. So that gave the context for the speakers, and it also gave a context for the green screening. So there was some real stuff in there. But as Mike said, the rest of it was, well, in their case, was green. And then they had these virtual superimposed drop-down areas where they would put graphics in front of the studio when they were doing a wide shot and then bring it in. Yeah, and we haven't even touched the whole issue of what happens when your camera starts moving on a green screen. That's definitely another show in itself. But yeah, if you mix up your green screen content and your real content, even when you're in a green screen world, you're right, Mike, it makes it much easier to manage, and it also makes it harder for people to see the holes in it, shall we say. Oh, do you like that? Holes, green screen, Matt, holes.
Yeah, yeah. Chair. You're going back to your chair. Yep, yep. It all makes sense, and it's all important to understand that lighting is good, it needs to be good, camera needs to be good, and whatever specifically in John's anchor situation, John's seating needs to be good too, that it makes sure that, it's not going to spoil the effect, because John can have a perfectly lit room, a perfect camera, perfect green screen happening, but all he needs to do is have that chair that he's using and all of a sudden move a little bit, and now you see it. You're not going to not see it. You're going to see it. Right? It doesn't. And so you gotta take into everything in consideration. Yes, John.
I noticed that Mike's whole idea of catching me out with green screens is just to watch my chair. Have you noticed, dear audience? Dear audience, do you know I've got 2 tricks that can outwit Mike? No, we know.
I believe it.
I've got 3 tricks that will outwit Mike.
Oh, we're going to 3 now, not just 2.
Oh, we always
3.
go. Rule of 3.
It's everything.
Always have to have 3.
Yeah,
always have to have 3.
Gotta have 3. Gotta have 3.
Trick number 1. Notice that I'm using a background which is similar color to my chair, so he can't see the green screen coming through it because he can't see any light difference. Trick number 2. It has been known for me to hang something on the back of the chair to cover up the hole. Trick number 3. I could just use a different chair.
And the simple one was the end. Yeah. There's hold on. For this broadcast, because I'm using a green screen, I'm going to be in a different chair. Yeah. But yes, I have seen number 2 for sure. And number 1, I don't know. He's teased me a few times with that one, everybody. So, Juju, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know. Sometimes when he's in the anchor spot, is he live or is he Memorex? And I'm showing my age there. Did everybody get the reference? Good. All right. That was related to Memorex.
So, Yeah, so the show today, Mike, is we're going to talk for a half an hour on where I got to with AI, because I could show examples, but I have a feeling that if I show examples, it would be a 3-hour show, and if I don't show examples, we'll get it done in 30 minutes. Said he, looking at the camera, looking at the clock above the camera to see that we've done it in 90 minutes and we haven't done any examples whatsoever, which is quite frightening, really. It's as soon as you go below one level, this is such a complicated subject, and there are so many options. But that's what makes it an exciting world to think about. That really is.
And on top of that too, John, so many people are doing it so wrong. Like it's been very, very rare. There's a handful of people that I know use green screen all the time that do it well. And I say that with all, encouragement for those people to fix themselves. But again, right now off the top of my head, I've got about a handful of YouTube shows, if not YouTube shows, even people that will just use it for day-to-day work where they've got a green screen because they happen to be at home and they don't want to show their background, and they throw up their portable green screen, and all of a sudden, they're magically taken back as if they're sitting in the office. And most times it can become very horrible, and you'll see it. Like I've even seen it on sometimes when people are being interviewed on newscasts, the specialists that are remote that they will bring in from X university or X location. And you can tell if it's green screen or not, because, the headphones give it away. We've talked about this, or, there's many different aspects that will do it, but yes. So definitely, if you're learning anything through all the different shows that we're going to be doing about green screening for everybody, as a takeaway, is that lighting is important, cameras are important, and of course your set is important as well, because heaven forbid there be a little green, as a green plant that might be close to the green screen color, that all of a sudden magically now your plant becomes see-through.
I've got a bit of a crush on KJC. I'm not going to tell you who KJC is, but I got a bit of a crush on her. And yet, she is okay. She's not in films. She's not on TV, but she's an actress. She's done stage shows. She's got awards for stage shows. She's got awards for presentations. She's an award-winning presenter. As of course, Mike and I are both award-winning. Did we mention that? We are. And anyhow, KJC did a seminar this week in Zoom meeting with a load of really bored-looking people in gallery mode. I don't think she even shared a slide with us. And yet, at the end of the show, she was expecting 4-figure payments to spend the next 3 months with her. I saw somebody else this week. Let's call her Elaine, because I used to have a friend called Elaine who lived along my road when I was a kid, and had a crush on her as well. So that's the connection. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So Elaine is selling this system. She wants $1,000 for you to join her virtually, $4,000 for you to fly down to her Florida mansion and join her for 3 days. You've guessed it. She's running a presentation in her bedroom with a flip chart and one camera angle. She has a multi-million-dollar business in the States. She's got 4 assistants, I think, on the call in the Zoom at the same time, helping her. I mean, I don't know what they're helping her for, because she's got this one camera shot, she's got this flip chart, and she just sits there for an hour talking about marketing and God. She's fantastic. But I'm thinking to myself, girl, can't really do that at my age, but I'm going to. Girl, you got to up your game. If you're not an actress or a world-class presenter, or if your customers are not an actress or an actor or a world-class presenter, if they got fear of public speaking, if they don't like doing presentations, if their presentation content style is as boring as anything, then I'll tell you what, a bit of green screen and a couple of special effects, and I promise you they will change, but the audience impression will change a million times. I don't know anybody who's ever got beyond 50% on average of all the different scores you could give about presentation skills and technology and impact and all the other things you could march. Nobody is probably above 50% on all of them as an average. Everybody is good at one thing or another. Now, if you're worried you're not good at doing presentations, if you're worried you're not good at doing slideshows, if you're worried you're not doing any of those things, then here's the cheat code. You can take some clever stuff with green screens. You can do some clever backgrounds. You can do some clever, a clever bit of imagination where at one point you suddenly disappear into whatever you're talking about. What was that example? That example about talking about some Stream Deck? And then you shrink yourself down to the size of a Stream Deck. So you took a picture of the Stream Deck on the screen, and you shrink yourself down to the size of the Stream Deck, and you sit on the Stream Deck and talk about it. Now that could be what, 1 minute in a half-hour presentation, Mike?
Absolutely.
And every time you do another product shot, they'll be waiting for you to shrink down and appear on it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I was trying to have you shrink down a little bit there, and I did, but I didn't do a great job when you were doing that, but that's all right. There was no Stream Deck. Production studio can only go so far. But yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So take these skills. You don't have to use them the whole time, but just take a little bit of a snippet of a skill, stick it into a longer presentation, and you will change the mood by miles of the audience. But it also, one thing I noticed when I've done this to a presenter, it changes the presenter because they suddenly realize, oh, I'm not in a boring world anymore. I suddenly, somebody asked me a question and the question appeared on the screen underneath me. Mind blowing if you've never done it. So if you're doing a production with somebody and suddenly that question appears underneath them when they're answering it, they go, wow. And suddenly their whole attitude changes because they suddenly feel they're not in this, with all due respect and love to them, they're not stuck in this Zoom box because they were forced to by COVID. They're now using the Zoom box because it makes them look good.
Yes. Heaven forbid. Yes. And you should look good on Zoom. Because any of the video conference stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Because suddenly they look good. They're using an A10 with scene switching because suddenly they minimize and their big presentation appears next to them and they're overlap. Yeah, these silly little things to us in the production world. I can tell you, they may feel a bit, oh God, we can do that easy. Yeah, but do it. You will make a difference. I predict by the end of the year, KJC will be more in love with me than I am with her. And I'm not going to come up with 3 reasons, because that would be a little presumptuous of me. But that's the challenge I have. KJC
there you go.
Will be in love with me by Christmas, because I'm just going to use some little screen effects over the next 3 months with us, our little sessions we're having together, to make her, well, actually, I'll do them to me, but then she'll say, oh, John, can you do that for me, please? I know she will. Because one of the most important things about her being an actor on stage, and this is my closing thought for you, which is the hint to Mike that you can get the credits going soon. The thing is, there are 3 types of actor in this world, or put it another way, there's 3 types of acting in this world. And they are very different to each other. And you can go home as your homework to write down the reasons why. Being on stage is a completely different experience for the speaker and the audience to being in a film. It's a completely different experience to the person on the camera and the people watching on a TV show. Those 3 environments are completely different. Now, yes, I know film and TV have blurred quite a lot, but there is still a big difference between a big budget film and a studio-based TV show. They are still very different to somebody on stage. Most of the people that you're dealing with sit in an office. So their usual modus operandi is a stage. They never seem to make connection. But when they come on camera, not the same thing. I mean, I don't even have to wear trousers anymore. I can run around this studio in shorts because as long as I don't stand up, you'll never know what underwear I'm wearing and whether I shaved my legs today or not. The 3 stages are completely different, and it's our job to make them look different and to take advantage of the mediums that they produce them. And yes, this makes it even more of a nightmare when you do hybrid, but it does make a difference. So when to use green screen, you should be using green screen all over the place, not all the time, just in bits. And there are so many different ways of using it now that you still don't know whether or where I use green screen today. And I would tell you about that, but unfortunately it's time for the credits. So make sure you subscribe, and then I really will pull the alien invasion on this show. But the aliens are going to stay in their little box of reality until you get to that target. So make sure you subscribe, make sure your friends subscribe, and if you won't subscribe for me, then Mike's going to ask you himself. Over to you, Mike.
Correct. Thanks everyone for joining us this week on the Production Professionals Power Hour. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you love our content. And of course, John's giving you extra. Where is he? He's over there. That way. That way. He's giving us extra little incentive for you to subscribe, because you never know what Johnny's going to have up his sleeve next. We're here every Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I got it right, John. I got it right. All right. And don't forget, John gave everybody your homework. So we expect it to be done this week and report back to us in chat next week. Always here for the Production Professionals Power Hour. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Production Professionals Power Hour, where ideas and technology flower. For the shows that need to shine, for the moments that go live on time. From the gear rack to the control room view, we bring the best straight through to you. Step inside, the future's now. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Did it stop sending because it's crashed?
It checking. Everybody seems to be. I ended up throwing up the slide anyways. It
It says the event's in progress, but the app has crashed, so I can't stop it.
oh,
So hello, everybody.
Okay.
We have finished, really.
yep.
I just don't
And
know how to stop you.
as far as I know, John, we are still broadcasting up on the slide.
Yeah, we are still broadcasting, but I can't get. I'm trying to log into it to stop it. There it is. No, it says. Oh, hold on. Maybe. Oh, here we are. It's all right, internet. I have found the screen again. You don't have to be here forever watching it, waiting for it to end. I have managed to log on again, and I can now say, thank you for listening to the Production Professionals Power Hour. I'm going to stop streaming now and have a cup of tea.